Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Ted, hanging out with
Dave.
And today we have another GM 911 from Aaron, and he says, "Help, Nerdarchy, you're my only hope." He's got a spellcaster who's using Charm Person at just the right time, and it keeps derailing his plots.
If you have someone derailing your plots and you need help, you can submit GM911s to nerdarchy@gmail.com, or you can go over to the forums and we'll take your questions there.
So, all right.
So this witch is using charm in not a charming way.
I don't know.
This is what I got for you, buddy. Aaron, look. Welcome to being a GM. Your players are going to bone you every time. You're just going to have to deal with it.
There's a story here. Years, he knows exactly where I'm going. Years ago,
I know what you're talking about, man.
Years ago, we had a family hangout or whatever, and we decided we were going to just put together an impromptu game. Dave decides he's going to roll up an enchanter, and he doesn't care at any single freaking plot hook that I throw out there. He's decided he's going to start a prostitution ring. Now,
we prefer gentleman's club or brothel.
Whatever terminology you want to use.
Charm Person was disgusting.
Back in second edition, if you failed your initial save on Charm Person, the spell lasted like a month or months.
It lasted a long time.
Depending upon how bad you failed that save.
It was based on your intelligence. As long as you weren't real smart or real stupid, like, it lasted a long time.
So, and you technically have the ability to be like, okay, well, once they're under your command, you can tell them, allow me to cast this spell on you, and subsequent castings don't get a save, at least under second edition rules.
Well, you could always choose to fail a saving throw if you can be like, hey, I'm going to do something to help you.
Right. So you could choose to fail, and you could just keep those spells going. So it didn't matter what adventure hooks I put out there. He was just finding, the best and brightest, if you will, of talent in town, and just casting the spell on them, and just totally.
But in all honesty, right? If we would have done that now, you're a much more experienced GM, and I would have probably had to deal with like rival pimps and thieves guilds and the crackdown from the watch, like maybe where they're not trying to break it up but they want their cut, so like it would be a different game.
There's so many different angles that as you're correct. I'm much more experienced. I'd be able to handle something like that, or I would just be like, all right, let's run with it. How do I make this interesting and fun for the
You're absolutely trying to get my character to leave town. It's like, no way, I got everything here. This is awesome.
And back then, I didn't run town-based games. I know how to do that now. So all right. So in these situations, you have to think on your feet. Aaron, you have to sit back and say, okay, well, if this is what's going to happen, if they're constantly using this spell, I'm not familiar with how things go in Pathfinder. But if it's like third edition, the save's not as bad as second edition, so you have a way of doing it. Now, perhaps the person might not be aware that they have been charmed, but they're not going to cast charm on every single NPC that they come across. Someone is going to understand. Someone's going to figure out that people that things are weird, that people aren't acting the way they're supposed to around you. They're doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and therefore those events can still happen. They're just happening by other people. They're happening by subordinates, friends, family, and you can still get that plot going, but there needs to be some kind of change. There need to be some kind of, all right, well, you're going this way, it's been derailed. All right, well, it can still go to the right, it still can go to the left, but in order for that to happen, there's underlings and things that need to move that thing along, and you're going to need to be able to deal with that on the fly. If there's a sole bit of information and the players aren't supposed to get it, and they charm that NPC, and now they have it. Okay, well, how does that change the overall story? How does that change your arc? Run with it. Don't, like, this is not a situation where, or
it's not something that's broke that really needs to be fixed.
A D&D campaign is not a set, get on a train, ride it to the end, unless you're playing a module. If you're playing a module, well, then there should be some ways to get around that, or what happens if this is put out there. If you're running your own campaign, then it doesn't matter, because you shouldn't be running a railroad. You should be allowing the communication of this story that you're sharing with the players, that they're a part of, and they're all moving the story in one direction.
Yeah, it's really just an opportunity to do something different and interesting that you didn't plan for. That's all. So you're just going to have to roll with it. You might have to make some changes. The plot, you may have to pick up your plot further down the line than you had anticipated. Maybe it helps them, finish that portion of the adventure sooner, and at the end you're gonna have to wing something, or the adventure ends sooner than you planned for the evening because you're not prepared, or you need to take a 5-minute break. Never be afraid to do that. Like, if something happens and you're not sure what to do, it's okay to take 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and think about what you're going to do next. You could even just be honest, like, hey, you guys totally threw me for a loop with that. Can I get a couple of minutes to figure some things out? I think most players are like, oh, okay, whatever. If you got smokers, go take a smoke break. Should be smoking anyway. It's bad for you. But
smoke break, bathroom break, food break, or have an in-game discussion. You guys chat. I'm gonna do some research.
Yeah, I have to figure something out real quick. It's a little hard too because you didn't give any specific examples, so we can't tell you how to get around it. But essentially, like, you can't really take away the player agency with the charm. You could occasionally put things in that are immune to being charmed. But I would not make that my go-to. You're going to mess up the experience for the players and the game, and it just comes down to, like, players are going to throw you a curveball, and you have to figure out what to do with it. And because this is kind of a generic scenario, we can't actually tell you how to get around it.
Well, yeah, we can't give you the specifics of that, but I think the generic advice is still going to hold up. I think there's a lot of things that you can do to be prepared for this situation.
Yeah, like, for instance, if like Ted said, how out of character is the charmed actions? Is it enough to send up flags for people around that person? Are they going to miss appointments or meetings that they otherwise would have went to?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing too, like, just because they're charmed doesn't mean they have to necessarily volunteer information. Like, if they had someplace to be and the players didn't know about it, the charmed individual may not mention it because they don't care anymore, because right now the most important thing to them is
this guy.
Yeah, this person, whatever they have them doing. So, maybe they were supposed to be at a meeting, a half hour ago, and they're not there. So this prompts an investigation from the bad guys, from whoever, from whatever's going on. Next thing you know, people are showing up to check it out, and they're like, hey, well, what are you doing here? You had so-and-so. Oh, well, I'm busy. What do you mean you're busy? The boss, he says you have to do the thing, right? And so it may cause an encounter you weren't planning on, but it could be like the bridge to getting to where you were supposed to be. And you don't want to do that all the time either,
right?
But or it could just be that, oh, now the bad guys are aware of the players. Maybe they weren't before.
Now, I was going to say, now the bad guys are aware of the players, and if they're aware that something's not going on right, if there's an intelligent enough person that says, okay, spellcaster, this person's not acting right. Charm person is a relatively low-level spell. It's first, if I remember correctly. So it's like, all right, well, how do we get around this? Well, can we hire some fae? And now there's all of a sudden a new union that happens between the bad guys and the Fae. The Fae, do some kind of shape-shifting stuff, or, just forget, they're Fae. They're going to, do what they want. And the Fae, typically, as a whole, are immune to being charmed. So
that's your solution, bring in the Fae?
Well,
the Fae squad?
I'm not saying for every single
I know what you
encounter,
mean.
but if you bring in people that are immune resistant to,
It's a possible
to
countermeasure.
big, yeah.
Yeah, and there's other things too. And then again, you're talking about third edition. There's magic resistance. I'm trying to think if there's like specific. I don't remember if there's
There's probably
spells.
magic specific.
Like there's like thought shield or mind blank or something. I'm sure there's a spell that defeats charm person in third edition that's specifically for that. Now again, like we're not saying you should use that all the time.
Right. Yes. You don't want to ever say, well, you've got this thing, you've overused it, now it's not going to do anything anymore, because that's strong arm DMing, and we're very much against that. You can run your
Now,
table
if
however
they do
you
it to
like,
the
but-
same group over and over again, that's different. Like they're gonna probably learn from their mistakes and be like, they keep charming us. We got to do something different, like rings of thought shielding for everybody, or whatever will defeat charm person. But
they're gonna get rings of mind control and mind control him.
something. How do you like it? Are you hitting yourself? I don't know. So yeah, but that's just it. Like if they do it to the same enemies over and over again, they can learn and then they can have countermeasures. But if they just happen to doing it to different NPCs, new environments and stuff, you're just going to have to roll with the punches and figure something out.
So if you have any advice for Aaron, or you want to weigh in on this situation, put your thoughts and comments down below. While you're at it, like, share, even subscribe.
Don't forget, you can tweet at us over on Twitter.
So until next time, stay nerdy.